Hi everyone. So I hope you all are doing well. So I'm Nadishan and I'll be hosting the session today with my co-host Imesha. So today we'll be discussing on programming Ballerina with VS Code. And first of all, this is an open forum, so all questions are welcome, and you can ask questions either via the Zoom or YouTube chat. We are live streaming now, and the presentation during the presentation no unmute at the end and have a discussion with the team and the rest of the community of course. So if you'd like to be more involved with our community, so you can join our Slack channel, then follow us on Twitter and start us on GitHub. So we'll be actually sharing all the links via the chat. So please note that this call will be recorded and the recording of this session will be available on our YouTube channel as well. Okay. So first things first. So let's have the quick look at the agenda today. So first of all, we will be having a quick introduction to Ballerina programming language. So we'll be briefly looking at the language, not dig deep to the language actually. And we'll be looking at how to set up VS Code for programming with Ballerina and content assist, code insights and code navigation features provided with the plugin for Ballerina. Then various refactoring options for Ballerina code, such as you can format the code and what are the code actions available, so on and so forth. Also, how you can run a Ballerina program, how you can test it, how you can debug it with the VS Code plugin. Also, which is this one is a bit interesting. The diagram view or the low code editor shipped with the plugin actually. So this basically uh, how Ballerina code being represented with its visual parity. So we'll be looking into that one as well. Last but not least, we'll be looking at what are the extension points available. So if you are writing a module and if you need to provide tooling support for your module, so this you can use these tooling extension points to provide your own tooling support. Okay, what is Ballerina? So Ballerina is a fully open source programming language for the cloud. So where it allows the developers to create network services in brief. And it's special because it has all the network primitives built into the language itself. So for example, if you look at the service and listener concepts in Ballerina, uh, you can write an HTTP service less than 10 lines and get it up and running quickly. Not only that, but also we have other various concepts like clients, then remote methods, resource methods, so observability, all these things actually built into the language itself. So you can check more on our official website as well. And especially the explicit error handling in Ballerina. So we have explicit error handling and the language is actually data oriented. For example, if you consider the network data types such as JSON and XML are built into the type system of the language. So if you get other cases, you have to add, in general, you have to add other third-party dependencies and so on and so forth to get deserialize and serialize various data types like JSON and XML especially. But with Ballerina, all these things are built into the language and pretty much easy to work with. And especially the query syntax, it's SQL-like query syntax. It's easy to grasp the concept in the syntax. Also, other concepts like streams and tables are also available. So as mentioned earlier, so the graphical syntax in Ballerina, we provide whatever the code you write, we provide a visual parity. So if you have a variable, if you have a service, function, data type, actually it may be action invocation, client invocation, anything. You have exact visual parity for your code, whatever the code you write. There is a diagram is generated for you. This diagram is generated as a sequence diagram. So this is very interesting. So we will be looking into this later in this session as well. So now let's have a look at how we can first of all setting up the VS Code ID for development. So I'll be sharing my VS Code instance now. Okay. So first of all, what you have to do is you can go to the marketplace. Here, what you have to do is just type Ballerina, and you will be prompted with the plugin here. And there are actually two plugins. This one is actually deprecated, which is for earlier versions, and we strongly recommend to use the latest one. And you can go there, and yeah, you can see I have already installed this one. So you just have to click the install, and it will install it with a few seconds, and you will get it up and running. Now, so what you have to do is once you install the plugin, you will be prompted that the plugin has been successfully installed, and you don't need any other configuration to be done to get working with the Ballerina installed in the system. So the plugin will automatically pick whatever the Ballerina version you have installed and currently using in the system. And if you look at this top left corner, bottom left corner, you can see what's the plugin SDK and what's the Ballerina SDK being used. So if there are any cases, you can refer to our FAQ uh, in the plugin section here. So you can get all the information how uh, to get the things corrected. So let's have a look at first of all, what are the content assist options provided with the language. So yes, Ballerina have so many top level constructs such as so you can see like here you can have main functions, then services, then type definitions, annotation. There are various constructs. So it's important that the user is provided with meaningful content assist to get started quickly. So here, if you look at, uh, you just don't need to write all these syntax from letter one here. So what you have to do is, what I'm going to do is now, I just press Control Space here, and you can see with this, there are various snippets actually. So and for the annotations, then public functions, and also the type definitions and stuff. So if you look at services, you can see here we have so many service templates added. So these are being automatically generated for you. So if you look at the Ballerina distribution, there are various modules, standard libraries, and other modules. Maybe you might get modules added to the ecosystem, and these modules can have uh, various listeners. So, for example, FTP listener, file listener, HTTP listener. So the plugin will pick those things, and it will generate whatever the service snippets you needed. So for an example, if I'm going to select HTTP, it will generate the skeleton. So now if you need to add a resource like this within the service, what you have to do is you just try typing it down. So you will provide with the resource functions here. Now in Ballerina, we have this annotation concept. So it's let's say we can add annotations for various construct, for example, for the services now or the functions. So if you need to add any annotations, what you have to do is once you type add, it will prompt what are the available modules. And if I get HTTP, let's see what are the annotations available here, which can be applied to service config annotation. So if I select this one, now service config annotation is added. What are the options we can fill here? So I'm going to press Control Space, and you will be prompted with all the available fields there. So I have the auth field, chunking, compression, cost, so on and so forth. So if you need to easily fill all the required fields, what you have to do is you have to just select the fill required fields options now here, like this. It will uh, fill all the things now. Also, now let's try to add a type here. So I'm going to add here. If you look at, I'm going to add a record here. So what I'm going to do is going to add two fields here. So you can see all the data types and all the things are suggested here. Now I'm going to create a variable from this. So for example, I'm going to create employee here. Now you need to, so if you look at the diagnostics, you will be prompted there are non-defaultable parameters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control Space, and you will prompted with all the available fields and required fields. So it will be generated with the default values as well. Likewise, this is one thing. Also, in Ballerina, we have this concept called type guard. So if you have, let's say, a union here, let's pick employee asset. So now I need to type that this test variable. So you don't need to type it from the scratch. What you can do is select the variable, test dot, and there is a separate option here, type guard. So it will generate the type guard skeleton here. Likewise. So if you go inside each and every clause now, you can see that test variable has been properly identified, the type. So basically, the plugin identifies all the compiler generated information here. Right. Now, so let's see what are the actions and method invocation support provided with the plugin. So for example, if you get this client object called HTTP client, you can have various method action invocations. So for example, this get action. So what you can do is, I'm going to type the variable here, type the arrow, and it will prompt each and every action invocation provided with a particular client. So for example, you can have a get, put, post, everything is prompted properly. And same applies for other constructs as well. So for example, if you get an int variable, let's say int something, this variable is having predefined lang lib methods. So if you press a dot, it will show all these methods, like uh, absolute, then min, max, sum, everything. So plugin is aware all of these things. Not only the Ballerina content, but also if you look at the TOML, so I have a Ballerina TOML file, which is a configuration file provided for configuring the Ballerina source code. So here also we will be showing completions as well. You will be provided with the content assist. So if you get here, all these things are provided available once. So for the dependency options, everything is provided. So you just have, it will be easier for you. So you just don't need to remember everything. So the plugin will assist you. Another important thing is how to have a quick template. For example, if you look at the command palette in VS Code, you can type show examples, and you can select show examples here. So it will prompt all the examples available in the platform. Here, if you need to get started quickly, so for example, SSL and TLS, So I can go there and make sure, keep in mind this is a read-only file. So you can select one of the templates here and get started with your solution. So that's basically how we are providing content as is. It's not limited to this one, but there are so many other features. For example, if you have, let's say, an array here, in array, you will be provided with the for each, then likewise all the templates, and for each I, everything is provided for you. So it's basically pretty much easy to get started with. Okay. So now let's have a look at what are the content assist and code insights options provided with the plugin. Code insights include basically hover, then signature help, and documentation provided, so and so forth. So hover means, so if you take any symbol, for example, it can be a function definition usage, or it can be a variable like this one, or it's a type definition, whatever it is. So you can hover over the symbol and it will show the documentation provided. Yes, sometimes we know that documentation is important to get started with the library and stuff. So in this case, what you have to do is you don't need to refer the particular implementation. You just hover over it, and it will provide the insight here, like this one. So if you look at this response, it will be provide all the fields available, all the methods available in this class, everything with the documentation. So it's easy to get an insight of the particular construct. And also signature level. So for example, if I have a function here, so if I have function here, I'm going to invoke IO println. Yeah. So now these functions can have various parameters. You actually need to get an idea what are the parameters and the stuff, what that parameter actually means. So if you, while you are typing here, so it will show whatever the parameter values, and if it is a default value, and what is expected, what's the description, this everything will be extracted from the official particular documentation and show to you. Also documentation. So if you look at here, println, here you can see the documentation as well. So just same as hover, while you are typing and while you are auto completing, you can see this particular information as well. That's basically code content as well as the code insights provided by the plugin. So from this point onwards, I'll be handing over to Imesha to continue from code navigation and onwards.
Yeah, thanks, Madhishan. Let me share my VS Code. Okay. Yeah. So as the next thing, I want to discuss about the code navigation part. That means basically the go-to definitions and how to find references and those aspects. In order to do that, I have created a simple demo module, demo package, and it has two modules called types and bookings. And this project I have created this project to demonstrate a simple flight booking scenario. And inside types, I have the types that are related, and in this case we have a booking, and then we have passengers, and we have a flight which has a departure time, then origin and destination. Then we have an airplane and a model, and this is just a high level of high level representation for the demo purposes. And then here we have a set of booking related functionalities like adding a booking, and then finding bookings by flight and similar functionalities. And finally, we have the main.bal file, which is in our default module, which creates some sample passengers and some bookings and adding them. And to demonstrate, first let's look at how we are going to do go to definitions. That's basically you are seeing that there's this function is used and you want to go to that place. Simply what you need to do is you can either right click and click go to definition, or if you're familiar with the shortcuts in VS Code on Ubuntu, it's you have to click on this while pressing control, and depending on your platform you can find out what's the shortcut is. So I'm going to use the shortcut and click it here, and just like that you can go to the corresponding definition. And suppose if I want to go to the definition of the booking, simply we just have to press control and click. And let's go back to here, and not only within the same project, that means this is the project that we created, you can navigate within the standard library resources and the language library resources as well. For example, here I have added a log line, and this log module is a standard library. And so if I want to go inside, see, we can simply navigate it. Yeah. And even inside the language you can navigate. For example, if you want to go to this print method, so it's right here, and there are some records that you can, depending on your requirement, you can navigate seamlessly, navigate across different types, different definition, different constructs like that. And that's the the navigation part, the go to definition part. And similarly, you want to perform the vice versa. That means you know where the definition is, and you want to see the places where it's being used. So, for example, if you want to find out where the booking, the type record booking is being used, you can simply right click and click find all references. Or if you are using the shortcut on Ubuntu, on my laptop, that means on Ubuntu platforms, it's you have to press control and click, similar to go to definition. And on Mac it should be command click, I think. Yeah. And so if you click that, it will show all the places where the booking record is being used, as you can see. And if you want to go to one of these places, you just have to double click like that. And yeah, this applies to functions as well. For example, if you want to see where the booking function is being used, you can simply click that and move on. Since we looked at the finding references part, I'll show the renaming functionality as well. Suppose if the most probably we have in most cases we will have a requirement to rename types without going to each and every place and renaming. So for example, I decide that I want to rename airplane, the record airplane, I want to change the name to plane, just plane. And for that, what you need to do is just click rename symbol, or the shortcut is F2. And then you just have to add the new name, and then when you press enter, all the changes will be applied. For example, you can see the black dot here, that means the related files have been modified. And if we go here and see, so here the type has been changed to plain, like that. So that's just one example, and let me save these files. Yeah. And the other thing that I want to show you is the outline. So for example, suppose if you are within a source file which has say around 500 lines of code, and then you want to find something quickly, we have two options. One is the outline that we have on the left hand side. With that, suppose if you want to go to the flight record, it will, for example, okay, let me scroll down, and then if I click flight, it will take us to there. This file is not that long, so therefore you want to see the experience completely. At the same time, you can search for the symbols. If you in the command palette, if you type at, it will show all the symbols that are available in this file, and you can click on them and navigate to that place like this. So yeah, that's another main feature that we have in terms of navigation and navigation aspects. And with that, let's move on to the next part. That means let's see what are the things that we have provided for refactoring. For example, under that, I already showed you the renaming part while looking at the references part. And in that, first I want to show you the main code actions that we have. So let me close these files. Yeah. So first, earlier Nadishan showed that we have union types. That means, for example, suppose we have a function that this is a dummy function, and say it returns a string or an int. And at this point, suppose in another method, you are going to invoke that. And you have invoke that function, and then it will show a diagnostic that variable assignment is required. And here we will be suggesting mainly three code actions. First one is the ignore return value. That means basically we discard, we ignore the type by assigning that to the underscore as you saw. And the other two is the create variable. So with that, it will just create a variable with the return value. And the next important thing is you can, Nadishan showed that earlier that once you have, you can type guard it using completions like this. And similarly, you can do the same with the code action as well. So once you have a union type, we suggest the code action to type guard that variable like this. And with inside that, the type of value is narrowed to string. And yeah. And the other thing is, at this point, we show that this variable is unused. That means there are no usages of this variable. And if that's the case, and you are not, if you are not willing to use that, or you are not interested in the return type, you can ignore the unused variable using this code action. And the other thing is, suppose if this union type contains a subtype of error. So let's say if this is running a string into an error. This is a common case when you are getting something out of a network, or basically from a remote method integration through a client. And in such cases, probably your return type will be maybe JSON or error, something like that. And in such cases, in addition to the code actions that we show, the create variable and type guard and the create variable code action, we show create variable and check error. That means we will convert this to a check expression, and then we will add returns an optional error to return an optional error, and then from then onwards you can simply type guard and move on. And so that's that for the create variable code action. And next I want to show you another useful feature. So as Nadishan previously said, the Ballerina has a lot of standard libraries and it has a langlib plus a set of standard libraries inbuilt. And there are cases that you want to use external packages from you can search them through the Ballerina Central, and I will be showing that at the end of the presentation. Suppose there's a Ballerina extended library called MySQL. Suppose that you are going to you want to connect to a MySQL database, and in that case you want to use the MySQL package. And when you add this import, it will say that the module cannot be resolved. And at this point, we suggest the code action to pull the unresolved modules. And When you click that, you will see that the module is being pulled in the background. So in the background, the Ballerina plugin will pull that corresponding package from the Ballerina Central and make it available for you to continue coding. At this point, you can simply continue to use the MySQL package client like this. And yeah, so that's the idea. So you will get the completions as expected and like that. And so yeah, and when you have unused imports and similar stuff, we provide optimize all imports code action. That means simply to remove the unused imports. And so that I decide to remove that import. And the next thing I want to show you is the create function code actions. That means, for example, okay, let's do like this. So, okay, I have an empty function and say I'm planning to create a function, and before writing the new function, I decide to write the invocation first. That means I'm expecting a int return type, and I'm naming that get int, and I'm passing in a string. Maybe it's converting the string to a int, and you haven't still defined this function. And at this point, we show the code action to create this undefined function. And as you see, when you click that, it will create the function with the expected parameter types and expected number of parameters plus the expected return type and with the default return value. And let's try a bit more complex scenario. Suppose I have a type called a project with a record which has a name and an ID, and I'm going to create a project. I'm planning to write a function which is going to create a project, and it's going to take a number and another some string as well. And at this point, when you generate this function, it will have all the required parameters as we expected, and the return type, and plus it a default value for the record. And you can write your logic inside this later. And yeah, and with that, I just want to one more thing, that I said that we support renaming earlier, and I showed that to you. And let's generate this one as well. And for example, this is a keyword, and we don't allow renaming keywords. And we have we do those checks, and so we make sure that only the valid symbols can be renamed. Yeah. And the next part, next thing I want to show is the formatting part. For that, let's go back to our original demo. So here, okay, I have a seemingly large record which has a lot of fields, and suppose it's out of order. It was out of order like this. And now I want to make my code more readable. So you simply can right click and format document, or you can press the corresponding shortcut as well. And when you format that, the code will be formatted. So this similarly, the Ballerina VS Code plugin provides a good formatting, good rich support for formatting, and you can try out that as well. And yeah, as a next step, let's see how we can execute Ballerina programs with the Ballerina VS Code plugin. And as you can see, this is the main function. And I mean, so this is our demo project, and we are in the main.bal file. And if you want to run this project, you simply can get the command palette, and there we have a command called Ballerina run. It will, when you click that, it will basically execute our program. In this case, what we have is a main function, But if that was a service, if there was a service as well, the same applies. It will be executed. And inside my code, I have added some log lines plus an IO println, and those are being printed. And next thing I want to show you is about the testing part. So inside these test modules, inside this bookings module, I have written the test to test the functionality of the add booking function. To test that, what I am doing is let me close this. What I'm doing is I'm creating a set of records that are required, and then I'm creating a booking record, and then I add that. And as the next thing, I'm asserting if the result, if there was no error while adding the booking. And finally, I'm then searching that booking using the flight and check if the number of bookings is length is 1, and we can do additional test as well. And if you want to execute the test corresponding to a module, corresponding to a Ballerina package, what you need to do is simply take the command palette, and I'm using the shortcut, but you can use the menu item here as well to get the command palette as well. And the shortcut is Control Shift P on my machine, that means on Ubuntu. So there's a command called Ballerina test, and when you run that, the tests will be run for my package. Also, please do let me know if you need something clarified as well, even via the messages as well. So yeah, so I had only one test case and it's passing, and that's the flow. And yeah, now we looked at how to run and then test. And the next thing I want to show is the debugging part. That's the most important feature when you are working on a project continuously. So in order to demonstrate that, I'm going to use another simple example. So I have written a simple service, and inside that, what I have used is I have used the GitHub API to get the latest events for the Ballerina platform GitHub organization. And as we all know, as developers, we always prefer the system.out.println and debugging ourselves rather than looking at the documentation. So I'm going to do the same. And I know that this is our endpoint, and this is the path, and this is supposed to return the events. And I just want to look at what's the response that I'm getting. The only thing I know at this point is that I'm getting a JSON. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to debug and see what's the response that I'm getting. And to do that, you have to go to run and debug menu item on the sidebar, and on the first occurrence, it will show run and debug button here. And when you click that, it will create a launch JSON, and you don't have to modify that. And you will see the Ballerina debug button afterward. And now I'm going to debug this. And yeah, the debug debug process is starting. And remember, this one, our context path is Ballerina, and we are listening on port 9090. Our request path is then Ballerina/pull requests. So let me send a curl request. And we our debug pointer was got it, and I want to step over to the next line and see the response. I'm going to step over. Okay, now I can see the events, the JSON here, and it has say around 29 items, and I'm going to expand the first one. And inside that, as you can see, an event has a type basically, first, and then it has an actor. Actor represents the user who did that, and then a repo, on which repo, since we are getting events for the entire organization, it shows uh, the the repo, and then the event payload. And yeah, so now by looking at that, to make this presentation short, I had created the record to represent that. We have an event ID, then a type, and then we have an actor and a repo, and finally a payload. And I'll keep this as JSON. And yeah, now we can stop debugging. And let me modify this a bit. What I'm going to do is I want to get the pull request events out of all the events that are written from the GitHub. And to do that, now I'm going to seamlessly get my return response as an array of events. And then I have created a new record to represent a pull request event because I'm interested in the repository and the user. So I'll just quickly type this part since in the meantime, do you have any questions or something from the audience? And I'm going to iterate this, and if the items type is a pull request event, I'm going to add it to the new list. And yeah, this. And finally, I'm going to return the PR events. Okay. And I'm going to just run it now because I know that this should probably work now. And I'm going to use Ballerina run and then send a curl request. Yeah, our service is running, and I'm going to send this request. And as you can see, we got the latest pull request events, and we have had a pull request event from this user, and like that you can see the events. And the reason why I wrote this this function was to show the next part, that is the low code part. So I hope that you could get some grasp into the debugging, testing, and execution part using the Ballerina code plugin. And the next main thing, as Nadishan mentioned at the beginning, is the low code part or the diagram part. And once you have your code, or you can use the low code data 100% without even touching the source code as well. And let's first view the diagram for this. So yeah, as you saw, there's this what we call show diagram, or on the other hand, you can go to Diagram Explorer and then click on the corresponding file and visualize the diagram as well. But in our case, let's click on this show diagram button. And here, as you can see, okay, let me adjust this. Okay. Yeah, as you can see, this is our get pull request method that's being visualized. It's a combination of flowcharts plus a sequence diagram. Here you can clearly see the client interaction here, and then the for loop is being represented here. So if you are a non-technical person or a less technical person, this is a really good feature. And I was planning to use this diagram to add another endpoint in favor of time, I think I'll have to skip that. So if you wanted to add a new resource, simply my demo was to add a health check endpoint, and in that case, it will return an error. It will return simply a string, and like this. And I'm going to add that. I just simplified that, and so this is our endpoint. And inside that, I'm going to add the simply a return, and it will return a string. And as you can see, while we are editing the diagram, our source code is being modified here. See, and I'm going to return hello. And let me save this. Yeah, so it got added, and now we have two resource functions in our service. And similarly, I invite you to explore the capabilities of the Ballerina VS Code plugin plus the low code aspect as well. And with that, I yeah, that's what I wanted to mainly highlight. And yeah, let me share my presentation. Okay. Nadshan, in the meantime, do we have any questions from the audience?
I think we have one question from our YouTube streaming. I was thinking, what if we finish off the
Oh, yeah,
presentation?
okay, then. Yeah, sure. So
Yeah,
it'll take around 2-3 minutes.
yeah.
Okay, let me share my presentation. Yeah, you can see my presentation, right? Let's see all this stuff. And okay, the next thing I want to briefly mention is the extension points. That means the Ballerina VS Code plugin and this ecosystem supports developer. Suppose if you are writing a Ballerina package, and uh, we allow you to write your own tooling capabilities. As of now, you can write your own code actions for your package, because it's you who knows how the developer experience should come when a person is using your package. For example, it's you who knows what are the validations, what kind of custom validation, what kind of best practices that needs to be imposed when when a developer is using your package. And because of that, uh, we have given that space for you, and we have a concept called compiler plugins where you can do your own code analysis. And on top of that, you can provide your own code actions. And in the future, we will expand this further as well. As of now, we provide code actions, that means quick fixes as of now. And with that, we come to the end of our presentation. Finally, I want to mention few things about the Ballerina community. Uh, uh, the first thing is, if when you're starting to use Ballerina, if you come across any issue, or if you need any help, the best place to ask that is Stack Overflow, as we all do, as all developers do. And we have a very responsive community. And then we have our GitHub organization, the Ballerina platform organization. Go there and you can browse our repositories. We are 100% open source, and uh, if you have come across any issues or something, maybe you can report them as well. You can contribute at the same time and show us your support by starting our repositories as well. And then the Ballerina website. Let me share my entire screen so that I can show the browser as well. Yeah. So yeah, the Ballerina website is a really great place for you to start, especially the examples, and you can browse the same set of examples through the VS Code plugin, Ballerina plugin as well. You can yeah, you can search the examples there and even execute them there itself as well. And the other thing is our Twitter. Uh, account. Follow that to get latest updates related to Ballerina. And finally, Ballerina Central is the place where you can publish your packages and make it available for uh, other team members of your organization or to the entire world as well. And we have to mention Choreo, which is an integration platform as a service, which was mostly powered by Ballerina, and check that out as well. And yeah, that's it. We wanted to present within this tech talk. And I think if you have any questions right now, yeah, it's the time now.
I think
Yeah,
we had one question from our YouTube stream. So, pardon me if I'm pronouncing the username incorrectly. I think it's FEMAT or similar. So, any plans to support Ballerina on IntelliJ IDEA? Yes, we actually have plans to support IntelliJ IDEA in the future. And currently, we have a plugin, but it's not actually up to date with the latest Ballerina version. We are going to support, we have plans to integrate the same with IntelliJ with the community support.
Yeah, at the same time, Judgments is about to release the fleet
Yeah.
editor, which has inbuilt support. So yeah.
So once the fleet is out, I think it supports having language server implementation integrated to the platform itself. So basically, whatever the content as is, maybe whatever the language features provided for the user for Ballerina is provided with the integrated language server implementation, which is shipped with the Ballerina platform itself. So it will be easy for the platforms like that. Not only IntelliJ, but also consider any other platform. It may be Vim, it might be Atom, it might be some other IDE which supports language server. You can get the built-in language 7 that you want plugin. We actually warmly welcome you guys to provide this tooling community support as well.
Yeah, I think if you don't have any more further questions, we can wrap up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay then. Yeah, thanks for joining for today's tech talk, and we'll be having monthly tech talks like this from representing different aspects of the Ballerina programming language. And yeah, we kindly invite you to look at Ballerina, try it out, and if you get help from the community and be involved with the community. And yeah, anything else to add, Nadisha?
Not really, actually. I think thank you very much for everyone participating in the call. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I think we can expect more and more active engagement with the community in the future as well.
Yeah, okay. Then yeah, okay. Then see you next time then.
See you guys.
See you. Bye.